Alright, thanks for clicking on the video. This is Gulpain, just back with the old Broken Sword retrospective. And this is Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars for the Game Boy Advance. So I did play this a number of years ago and made a video on it, but I have to say I think I've kind of rethought a few of the things that I said was sort of like my initial thoughts on it, but you know, like since this is a retrospective, I'm having a retrospective look at it. So I've played the game again, and basically I like it a lot more than I did years ago, because I was only after playing, or I was used to playing Shadow of the Templars Director's Cut, and then I played this after. And then if you play this after, I mean, you know, it's not the same experience at all, like, so it's a lot different. But if you take it as a Game Boy Advance game, considering the limitations of the hardware, then it's very, very impressive, and quite, you know, like, not a lot of point and click games on the Game Boy Advance. So this would be, I mean, I can't think of any to my knowledge now on the Game Boy Advance. I'm trying to think here. There might be like Myst or something could be on the Game Boy Advance. That seemed to be on everything around the time. But I can't think of much on the Game Boy Advance comparable to Broken Sword. So this is an extremely ambitious port of the game. And this was actually, so it was developed by Revolution Software, but it was published by BAM Entertainment. And according to my research, quick research, and by research I mean Wikipedia, BAM Entertainment were going to publish Broken Sword, The Smoking Mirror on the Game Boy Advance as well, which would have been interesting as well. But apparently they went under. The studio, the publishing studio closed, so they did not publish it. And there was also plans to publish Beneath the Steel Sky and Lord of Temptress as well, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So Broken Sword 1 then becomes a sort of rarity, or a, you know, like a real kind of special kind of game for the Game Boy Advance, released of course in Europe in 2002. So I got my copy maybe 2019, 2020, so a good few years ago now, and I played it on, I didn't play it on a Game Boy Advance, I played it on a DS, the old DS with the Game Boy Advance slot in the bottom. So that's how I played it, and then obviously I played it on an emulator as well to capture footage. And you know, I think it doesn't look as good when you have it on a larger screen. I think when it's on the small screen, it looks fine. What I really like about it though is, and I said this before, was the control system and the fact that the text is very big. So I play games now on the Switch, and I have to go, or even the Xbox 360 and stuff, or Xbox One, and you have to go and, you know, right up next to the TV to actually read the text. It's so annoying. It's so small. But this game, the text is nice and big, and the new interface as well, I really like it. It's for anyone that's a fan of Broken Sword, they should really check this game out. It's much more focused on music than the other games. Obviously the music is very, very good in you know, the PlayStation 1, PC, you know, the phone version, or the remaster, sorry, the director's cut version of Broken Sword 1 Shadow of the Templars. But the Game Boy Advance and the DS version, they really kind of make you focus on the music of Broken Sword. So the sort of the piano numbers and the I don't know how you describe it, the surprise music, like, you know, when something kind of happens, there's like this kind of fantasy music that I think it was Barrington Falloon, I'm not sure on the pronunciation of his name, or her, composed the music. But it's really like, you really get a new appreciation for the music of Broken Sword when you play it on the Game Boy Advance or the DS. More so the Game Boy Advance, because the DS has the nice music, but the it's kind of a bit more, I don't know how you describe it, like like close to the CD, the DS music. But the Game Boy Advance one has the Game Boy Advance sound system, so it kind of sounds a bit different. It kind of sounds a bit like it would be on the Super Nintendo, or the well, not the Mega Drive, but maybe the Super Nintendo, or like, you know, like maybe Nintendo 64, something like that. The non CD based system. So you have this like very different kind of sound to the Game Boy Advance version, and it's really, really good. I really like it. So for me then, revisiting the game after kind of a few years, after initially not liking it and then revisiting again, I really like it now. I think it's a good way to play Broken Sword. It's not my favourite way to play Broken Sword. That would be the Wii version, the director's cut. That would be the best way to play Broken Sword 1, with the additional content and kind of the extra scenes with Nico, and the kind of the the character portraits as well. That's really nice. But this one has a great interface. You actually walk George around the screen as well. There's no point in a clicking in this. Well, there's semi points in a clicking. You walk George around, and when you go up to a character, the mount appears and you can talk to them, and then you can choose your items, but they're done in like an arrow system where you have to click through them instead of like they're all on screen. So yeah, it's kind of strange, but the backgrounds are very faithful, the scenes are very faithful, the animations are very faithful as well. It's a extremely faithful port, and it's a very interesting way to play Broken Sword. So to revisit the music section, then the music does a lot of the world building here, and the the main crux of the game. Because without the voice acting, I think Broken Sword loses a lot without the voice acting. Because George and Nico's voice actors, I mean, it's been the same George, for 20 something years now, or close to that anyway. And I think Nico's had a couple of different voice actresses, or sorry, voice actors. But yeah, George is the same, so he's sort of like iconic to the series. But not having the voices in the game, it is a big letdown, because one of the main draws for me for Broken Sword is like to listen to the story, as well as the kind of the puzzle system. So you do lose a large element, but what you do gain is this like appreciation for the fantastic music in Broken Sword, and sort of like a renewed appreciation for me, because after I kind of played through the game, particularly like the first couple of hours when you hear a lot of the music, and then it's kind of repeated in the rest of the game. But when you hear the music, it's like I don't know, I can't explain it. It's very kind of surreal, because for me, I was more focusing on the voice acting than the music when I played the game first. I did appreciate, the music in Broken Sword 1 and Broken Sword 1 Remaster, etc. But because you don't have the voices in this, you're kind of, the music, you're really relying on the music to kind of set the tone and set the mood. And it does a great job of it as well. Obviously, sometimes there's silence, or sometimes there's the same song played. But yeah, just fantastic music. The graphics do take a bit of a downgrade. It's tough to see what's going on, and obviously the characters look smaller than normal. That shouldn't be though, because the backgrounds look the same, but I don't know, they look just kind of less detailed. Obviously it's the limitations of the hardware has to be taken into account there, but still though, Broken Sword on the Game Boy Advance is a fantastic game. It's a shame they didn't release Broken Sword 2 on the Game Boy Advance as well, because that would have been a great way to play it. I know you don't have the voice acting obviously, and you don't have the point and click system, so you have to walk George around. So it's more like actually Broken Sword 3, the way you walk George around the screen and then interact with objects. So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe with the Game Boy Advance they just couldn't do the arrow, and it was a kind of a better way to control the character, or maybe it was just a practical thing where they thought like more players would understand the game better if if they could physically move the character around the screen, as opposed to just kind of like it just looks like backgrounds. So Broken Sword on the Game Boy Advance, just replaying it again, great game. Obviously I know what's going to happen, because I know the story, and I know kind of roughly the main beats of the story. But great to experience it a different way, and just really just to focus in on the music. Just a fantastic journey through Broken Sword again with the music. So if you played Broken Sword on the Game Boy Advance, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.